area. One of the nice things about doing this show is that I make discoveries. And one of my most recent discoveries, to my amazement, was not a discovery to people I've told about it. It seems that it's become very popular in the 4 years since it was first opened. It's the Maritime Center in Norwalk, Connecticut. And my guest today is Jack Schneider, who is the program director and the curator of animals at the Maritime Center. He's also brought along some friends who we will be meeting a little later on. Jack, the term animal is one that fascinates me. When I think of animals, I think of going to the zoo and seeing animals, and yet you refer, and your title refers to the word animal.
Right.
Is that an unusual concept? Is it a strange concept?
Well, not really, Norman. There's 98% of the creatures on Earth are not mammals, and I think most people, when they think of animals, are thinking of mammals, deer or cows or whatever. I think they're thinking mammals and not really the 98% of the rest of the animal life on Earth.
But generally we refer to the type of animals that you have at the Maritime Center as marine life, I suppose. Is that the term that's most widely used?
Probably that, or people will lump together all the animals that come out of the sea and call them fish. And really, again, most of the animals that live in the ocean are not fish. They're animals without backbones, like the crabs and the lobsters and jellyfish and the things I brought along today.
Do they have personalities?
Some of them have very distinctive personalities and interact with their keepers in very interesting ways.
They do. What are some of those ways?
Oh, I think certain animals, the keepers develop a real attachment for. Octopus being one of them. Octopus are very responsive to their keepers, and whenever the keeper comes by the aquarium, they're out there looking for him and doing all sorts of interesting things to attract the keeper to interact with it. There are also fish that do the same thing. They seem to respond quite unusually to animals and to people in unexpected ways.
Now let's go back to the beginning. 4 years ago, or before 4 years ago, the Maritime Center didn't exist.
Right.
And today it's in a building. We have a picture of it here that was converted. Actually, it's a reuse of an old building, isn't it?
Right. It's a very interesting building. It was built. The main building was built in the 1860s, so it's over 130 years old. At that time, it was used for making heavy equipment as part of the Industrial Revolution. And it had a number of lives. It made heavy equipment. It also made ceramic doorknobs and door pulls and plates and things like that were made out of clay. And then just before the Maritime Center took it over, fiberglass boats were manufactured there. The Maritime Center, as a concept, is probably now 14 or 15 years old. But it took about 10 years in order to get the parties together and decide on a location. And finally, South Norwalk was decided as part of a redevelopment plan for the town.
Now, when you first walk in, there's something that attracts you. What is the first thing that hits you when you walk into the Maritime Center?
Well, it's the presence, really, of the seals, which everybody are enthralled with. We have 6 harbor seals that live at the Maritime Center, one of which was born there. And as you can see on the photograph, there's an outdoor portion, but there's also an indoor portion, and the seals can swim freely between the outside and the inside.
And people really love to see the seals being fed, don't they? It's a highlight of the visit, I suppose.
It's true, and there are a couple individual seals that interact with people, and especially with young children who, because of the configuration of the pool, can actually play peekaboo with the seals, and you see kids that are 2 or 3 years old interacting with the seals, and it really engenders a real respect for nature as the child develops.
I noticed when I was there that there seemed to be some seals that were more aggressive than others.
At feeding time.
At feeding time. And that the keeper, is that the term?
Sure.
Who was feeding them, made a special point of pushing aside others so that this particular one could get some of the fish?
Well, we ask the seals to come up on the rocks. We don't feed them in the water. We ask them to come to particular places on the rocks so that we can actually control how much food they eat. We can make sure that they get the proper vitamin supplement and the proper amount of food that they require. It's an important part of their husbandry to control that behavior, because otherwise not only will they not get the proper diet, but they'll also be fighting in amongst each other trying to get food, and they can get hurt in that way.
And this inside-outside concept, you can view the seal pool from either side.
That's right. Plus there's underwater viewing as well. So you can see them not only crawling about on land, but also swimming under the water.
And they're active. They're very active. I suppose that because they're under such great care, they're very, very healthy.
They are very healthy. As I said, we had one born there. It's interesting, Norm, that people don't realize that we have harbor seals in Long Island Sound. And this is really one of the few exposures and opportunities that people get to find that out, that in Long Island Sound, particularly in the winter months, there are large colonies of seals. And
do you add to the population? I suppose seals get older and you have to replace them, or do you keep the number at a certain level?
We keep it at a fixed level. We don't add any more, and we hopefully don't lose any at all.
They're varying sizes, of course.
They are, and they're varying ages. Eve now is 3 years old, and we have one, Susie, who is born in 1971 or 72. So she's getting on 20 years of age.
How long do seals live?
The record for seals is probably, with harbor seals, which is the species that we have, the record is 35 years. But a 20-year-old seal is an old seal.
Yeah. But moving along from the seals to what has got to be one of the major attractions, of course, that's sharks.
Sharks, sure. And in fact, right now we have a special exhibit that features sharks, not only the sharks that we have in Long Island Sound, but also sharks from other areas of the United States, particularly the Caribbean, Florida Keys area, as well as the kelp bed communities off of the West Coast, off California and Oregon.
Now, in your aquarium, it's a progressive aquarium, isn't it?
That's right. It goes from the salt marsh, which is the most inshore and quiet waters, off to the open ocean. And each particular ecosystem or habitat has its own types of creatures that are special to that area.
And so you progress actually until you come to the sharks, which are the largest tanks.
Right.
Do you have a problem there of the weight of all that water?
Well, you know, that building, the only thing that remains in that particular, in the aquarium wing, the only thing that remains are the outside walls, because there is a big problem with the weight of water, and we've had to specially construct the interior of the building to accommodate the weight of the water in each of those exhibits.
Of course, one of the most important thing is your attraction for children. You have extensive children's programs, and you have children who bring their parents there,
right,
actually, or grandparents.
That's right.
And there is a lot of interaction, and there's a lot of play where the people, the children and adults too, can actually touch the animals.
Right. The thinking is that people retain the lessons best if they're involved in a number of different sensory ways, and certainly tactile sense and olfactory sense are very important for learning. So kids don't like to just hear a lecture. They like to do things, and we try to encourage them to do things at the Maritime Center by interacting with the animals or interacting with different audio-visual exhibits as well.
And you have what you call touch tanks.
The touch tank is one of the more important areas. We have it staffed by one of our volunteer docents all the time, and they go over with each person the anatomy of the animal, the external anatomy, how it survives in the wild, and creates just a really good learning environment.
And actually, the children actually get a chance to be real close up and I suppose learn what the parts are.
Learn the parts.
Touch them.
Yep.
And of course, you have a tank now where actually they can touch sharks.
Right. In our special shark exhibit area, there is an opportunity to touch nurse sharks as well as skates.
What's a nurse shark?
A nurse shark is a rather docile shark, although they get to be up to 9-10 feet long. The ones that we have there are perhaps 1.5 to 2 feet long. They're a quiet shark, and they don't mind being in captivity. They do very well in captivity.
They just swim back and forth, and the kids just put their hands on, like petting them. Actually,
it's close to that. Although it's really tightly controlled by the interpreter, the specially trained interpreter that is at the shark tank.
And talking about touching, why don't we show some of your friends that you brought along today, some of the animals and some of the unique features of them. So why don't you dig into the tank that you brought along, rolling up your sleeve to do that.
Well, one of the more interesting animals, people look at Long Island Sound at times and think that it's a dead sea, when in actuality it's a very rich habitat. This particular animal that I have, Norman, is a blue lobster. It's just the same as the lobsters that you would eat in a restaurant, although it lacks the red pigment that most lobsters have.
Is that unusual?
It is unusual. The ones that are genetically blue are probably number 1 in every 1,000,000 to 10 million lobsters, so it's a very rare one. This one happens to be what we call a dietary blue. It's gotten blue because in its diet has not included crabs, which form the compound that they need in order to produce a red pigment.
How did you get this?
Well, we have friends in amongst the commercial fishing community that go out and trap lobsters, and when they see an unusual one, they hate to bring it to market. They'd rather have it have a longer life, and so they bring it to us to take care of. This guy I banded so that we're relatively safe. He won't pinch us or the other critters that are in the tank. But you can see that it's quite an interesting animal.
So what you're saying is that if I happen to pull up a blue lobster, that I shouldn't cook them. I should bring them up to the Maritime Center.
That's right. In fact, it's interesting. Around Christmas time, the large lobsters that are like 12 or 15 pounds are very common in the fish markets, and people go in, buy these 12 or 15-pound lobsters because they hate to see them cooked, and they'll usually donate them to us at the Maritime Center. So lobsters are, for some reason, one of people's favorites, I think.
What else do you have there?
Well, I've got a really neat horseshoe crab that is one of our favorite animals in the touch exhibit that we talked about. This animal, or not this species, but this type of animal dates back 350 million years. It's a very, very ancient line of animals. It's called a horseshoe crab, but it's more closely related to spiders. And it actually has 2 large eyes that you can see, and then these 2 little pinpoint eyes that it has down here are sensitive to ultraviolet light. It looks intimidating with its long tail, but the tail is really just, the main function of the tail is to right itself when it's turned upside down. It uses like a pole vault to turn itself upside down, or right side up. And these animals are common to Long Island Sound. They come into the intertidal area during May to breed. And we have this one happens to be a female. I can tell that because her claws are different from a male. And they're quite interesting. This is the mouth right here.
Someone said that's only a question that another horseshoe crab would want to know.
That's probably the case. But these are, when people talk about intelligence in animals, obviously an animal that's been around for 350 million years has got quite a bit of intelligence.
How does it feel about being handled by you and people all the time? Is there any reaction that people get?
No, not really. They don't seem to relate to that situation. When I was holding him upside down, he didn't particularly care for that and was trying to right himself. But it is still, even though it's a wonderful animal, it's a rather primitive animal and doesn't have a lot of thought going on in its mind. I also have a green crab, and this guy I haven't banded. Now, green crabs are your more typical crab. And actually, green crabs are one of the animals that many, many years ago, hundreds of years ago probably, were introduced into Long Island Sound from Europe. Came aboard some of the boats from Europe, ships from Europe, and have proliferated in Long Island Sound. So this is what we call an introduced species.
Now, when you say a green crab, is that, again, not a common color?
No, it happens to be the common name of this crab. Like the common name for the lobster is American lobster. That happens to be a blue variant of an American lobster.
Now, you say that you haven't banded his claws. Is that because you know him personally and feel that...
These are much calmer animals and can inflict much less damage with their claws than the lobsters.
But you watch your thumbs at all times, don't you?
Absolutely. So that's kind of a neat animal. One other animal that I have in here is this spider crab, which is a great-looking animal.
It's also a crab.
It's also a crab.
What is it that makes an animal a crab? There are certain factors that are required so that they're crab as opposed to the horseshoe crab, which is not a crab?
Yeah, there are. There's a whole branch of science that goes into classifying animals, and each class of animal has its own peculiarities. Crabs they don't have an internal skeleton like we do. They have what's called an exoskeleton, an external skeleton. And whenever a crab grows, it has to shed its exoskeleton, it has to get rid of it. And then just after it gets rid of the skeleton, it's very soft. And in fact, the soft-shell crab is simply a blue crab that has recently shed its exoskeleton and is growing. So this is a spider crab. It kind of looks like what we think of as king crabs.
Yes.
With long claws. But none of the animals that I've showed you, with the exception of the lobster, is really anything that's commercially valuable to people.
And of course, at the Maritime Center, you have a huge array of animals of maritime life in the exhibit space, in the aquariums. They must be kept in water, and I noticed that you also are aerating them. You're providing air to them as well.
Right.
That's required. Now, do they breathe underwater, or? With
the exception of the seals, which are mammals, air-breathing mammals, all the rest of them obtain their oxygen through the water.
What we were talking about today in terms of handling and showing the animals, I think that's typified by this photograph where we have some youngsters who are really getting into it. And I think that's part of the excitement and the charm. It's not a separate place where you just go and look. You are a participant, and I think that's very, very important as part of what the Maritime Center is. There are other things there as well. I know the exhibits are not only the maritime life.
Right. Yeah, we have a whole, really 2/3 of the rest of the Maritime Center. 1/3 of that is called the IMAX Theater, and that's where we show movies, as you can see on that photograph. The screen there is actually 6 stories high and 8 stories wide, and it encompasses your entire peripheral field of vision. So it actually gives you the feeling of being in the movie.
And for those who have never experienced an IMAX movie, either at the Maritime Center or at the Museum of Natural History in New York or any of the other places, it is really a tremendous experience. And they're filmed with these huge lenses that give you the feeling of being actually, talk about virtual reality today. Well, I think you get some virtual reality, especially in the scenes where the camera is moving on a boat or an airplane, and you really feel as if you're part of it. And the shows are always changing?
This show has changed frequently. Usually it's between every 4 and 6 months we bring a new show in. At different times we'll have as many as 3 shows running during different times of the day. We have sometimes extra special evening shows.
But not all of what you do is inside the Maritime Center itself.
No, we have 2 boats that we take out into Long Island Sound and actually give people the opportunity to participate in a real science expedition. And we have various types of scientific gear that we use to show people, to demonstrate to people what the oxygen levels are like in the water. What does the bottom look here? What does it look like here? What types of animals live in that bottom? We also use large nets to sample the the marine life that's living in the water and show people that there's a lot of exciting things that are going on in Long Island Sound, and it's very important that people be aware of the importance of the sound and do things to help keep it a healthy body of water.
Let's talk a little bit about the location and how people can get to Norwalk and to the center. It's only about a half hour from White Plains, actually, isn't it?
It's very close by. You can take the Merritt north and get off at Route 7 exit, or you can take Route 95 and get off at exit 14. And it is a very quick trip there, and it's well marked by signage.
Yes, it is clearly marked. I know on my visit I had no trouble finding it all. It took me right to it. And then the downtown area is all, when you're up there are wonderful shops nearby, and that certainly provided a great place to visit. It's certainly worth a half a day or a day's outing to come there. Let's talk about information. Where can people get more information about the membership, about the directions to get there, where the programs are, or even to get on the mailing list? Is there a telephone number that we can give the people? There
is. It's in Connecticut. It's area code 203-852-0700. And there will be a recorded message there. And if you want more than a recorded message, then you have the option to interconnect with other departments through the answering system.
And does the program change, or do your exhibits stay on for a long time? Is it a place that you come back to over and over again?
Absolutely. We try not only to change the IMAX movie on a frequent basis, but we also have major changing exhibits that change everywhere between six to 10 months.
Yeah, we've talked about the marine animals, but there are cultural aspects as well. I know that you have that magnificent racing boat there.
We have the Patient Lady, which was actually the construction of it and the design of it was all done in Norwalk.
And what is the Patient Lady?
The Patient Lady is a catamaran. It's all made with carbon fiber. The hull's carbon fiber. And what's unique about it, aside from being a catamaran, is that it has a fixed sail. It's not a cloth sail the way most boats have. It's a fixed sail, much like an airplane wing. And by adjusting the wing, the Patient Lady can go as much as 3 times the speed of the wind, much faster than the wind. And it was the sort of the prototype vessel that Connors defended the America's Cup off San Diego a couple of years ago.
And that's covered in the film, actually, that's at the IMAX theater in great detail.
Race the Wind, that's right.
Race the Wind. And I was very impressed with that. And I had not seen that IMAX film. I've seen several of them in various places. I had not seen that before.
Well, the Patient Lady really is an unusual boat, and we're really happy to have her. We're also going to, in the next few months, have on display the boat that was recently pedaled across the Atlantic Ocean by Dwight Collins, who's also from Norwalk.
Pedaled across the ocean?
Pedaled across the ocean from North America to Europe.
It was not the wind power?
Not wind power, just leg powered. It's going to be a really great exhibit.
I didn't know about that, and that sounds like a fascinating exhibit. But there's more to the Maritime Center than that. You certainly have a great deal on shipbuilding.
We have a working boat shop where we build traditional working craft. We've built a Sharpie that's used in the oystering industry, or had been used in the oystering industry. We've built a dory, which was a typical work type of boat. And we have a full-time boat builder there who not only gives presentations or demonstrations to the public that comes to the Maritime Center, but also has classes where on successive evenings you can learn actually how to build a traditional boat out of wood. We also have a number of other exhibits in that area that deal with navigation and sort of the rules of the road, how people sail. We also have a working oystering area, and it's really quite unique in that way.
And I was also impressed with the mural in the snack shop, I guess you call it.
Norwalk has the largest collection of WPA murals, Works Progress Administration murals, and we happen to have 2 of them on loan. One of them, the one you're referring to, is behind our working oyster bar and shows what the people during the 1930s, how they shucked clams and what a typical working oyster house was like. We also have another one that's more of a pastoral scene that used to be in the high school cafeteria. And if you notice, there was a cutout for a clock there. And some of the employees at the Maritime Center can remember sitting in that cafeteria watching the clock and wishing it would stand still so that their lunch was prolonged.
There's so much to talk about. We haven't really touched, and time is running out on us, on the great education program, which reaches out to schools not only in Connecticut, but also in Westchester and New Jersey and Rockland County and New York City. And students come up, is that correct?
Yeah, we have over 100,000 students a year that come in organized school groups to the Maritime Center. They take any programs. They take the boat programs. We have different programs that feature different habitats and are built around the exhibits. We also have what's called the Jason program, or the Jason project, which is, in the most simple terms, interactive TV. Last year, the Jason project went to the Galapagos Islands and broadcast back live to the Maritime Center, as well as 20 other sites around the country. And the kids in the audience could actually talk to the scientists real time. It was done over satellite links.
Let's give the telephone number again if people want to get more information about the education programs or the Jason project. What is that number again?
It's 203-852-0700.
And people who are interested in that or any information should call that number, or educators who want to get involved with the Maritime Center, either to have you come there or for them to come to you. Either way.
That's right.
Well, thanks very much. The time has gone very fast, and we've got so much more to speak about that we can't cover. This has been a fascinating trip to the Maritime Center in Norwalk, Connecticut. My guest has been Jack Schneider, who is the program director and animal curator. Go visit it. You'll enjoy it. I'm Norman Liss. Until next week at this time, enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
And that's 28 minutes.